Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You know what it is, man. And we gonna talk about this DMX, or should I say Ruff Ryders Chronicle, man. So Ruff Ryders, they're doing a chronicle just like No Limit did. And this thing is kind of dope, man. I ain't even gonna lie, man. It's very interesting. And I like the fact that they spawned off the No Limit joint. It looks like the No Limit joint is over, so they're gonna just transition right into the Ruff Ryders joint. But man, this thing is hot so far, man. I like where they started off. And these things are well done, man. The production value on these documentaries have been really, really good. And I like the fact they keep giving us information that we just did not know at the time when these things were going on, man. Now, for a lot of the new fans or people who weren't familiar with these cats, this is going to be some new revelations anyway. But for folks who followed them and were legit fans, you still getting brand new information. You're like, what? I can't believe that even happened. All right, we about to get into it. But before we do that, man, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let's get it. Okay, so the story starts off. We're introduced to Wah and Dean. Now, they have a very interesting story because they come from the South Bronx. And anybody who knows anything about New York City knows the Bronx. Oof, man. That's the trenches, man. That's just, that was the poor of the poor, especially the time that they're talking about. Even now, man, you go to a Yankees game or whatever, man, and it's just, the Bronx is just no man's land, man. It's just the Badlands. It's very run down, very poor, just horrible conditions for people to live in, man. And at that time, they were going really through it because it goes to the 80s, man, when these cats are really just starting to build up the empire. But it starts off with most record label stories, man, on some street stuff, man. Cats was in them streets, but they talk about their family a little bit. They talk about their humble beginnings, where they come from a 2-parent home, which I was like, okay, I get it. I see what's up. And back in those days, you know, most folks, man, they came from 2-parent homes. And they had a strong religious base, which, man, made it seem like they had a really good family structure, man. They were Nation of Islam folks, man, until disaster struck when the family split up because the parents got a divorce. And the kids ended up being spread from one place to the other. And it seemed like Dee and Wah were always together, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? It looked like these cats was just destined to be street dudes from that point on, man, because it seems like that's like the key for that to happen always, man. It looks like once the family splits apart, man, and people are separated like that, man, there's nothing else left for the oldest males in the family to do but to gravitate toward the streets. And the streets are very, very, very addictive, man. They've got a way of taking young men and saying, hey, man, you can get money this way, you can get the girls this way. And it's just what it is, man. It's the realization, man. It's just how things go with black folks, you know, in these streets, man, and in the country or in the world. But, man, it seemed like they still kept a lot of that stuff that was instilled in them when their family was together. And I think that's a part of what made sure that they prevailed in the end. Now, the documentary goes on to talk about how they were incarcerated and they did some time or whatnot, man, especially a lot of juvenile time. And they were getting kicked out of school. They were just wild cats, man. It was wild. And it's funny to me, man. I think it's hilarious to see old street dudes. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, man. When I look at cats being interviewed, especially like when it comes to hip hop and stuff, and they used to be street dudes, and you see their old pictures, and you can say, okay, man, dude was tough. You know what I'm saying? But you see him now as kind of an old man. It's funny, man. It's interesting, man. To say the least, to be honest, man. But so they talk about a lot of those stories, man, where they were getting into stuff and getting into it with people and how they, they established their rep in the street as people who not to play with in Yonkers. You know what I mean? So these cats get deeper in the streets, though, man. And, it goes downhill from there. They start slinging drugs, which is a no-no. And then they get into the street life for real, man. And Wah ends up getting shot, man. So he had a discussion with a dude about about getting shot and running in the zigzag. And this threw me off, man, because I've always believed that rumor, man. I think maybe that just traveled through Black America. Everybody always had that story like, hey, man, if cats are shooting at you, man, you're supposed to run in a zigzag. Because where I'm from, we talked about that too, man. Everybody always believe that, like, yo, dog, if somebody's shooting at you, you got to run in a zigzag and you won't get hit. And man, he tried to reply that, and man, he actually got shot, man. He got shot for real. And which is a crazy situation because it seems like he still has the bullet lodged in his heart today. And that sucks because I still believe that rumor to this day. I ain't even gonna lie. I ain't gonna front, man. I believe that if you ran in a zigzag and somebody was popping at you, it'd be harder to shoot you. Then after Wah gets shot, man, the realization moment happens when they see some cats who took a different approach, man, to life. They look at some cats who, man, we would call them, today we would call them lames. You know what I mean? Just regular kids who are just doing the right thing, going out, doing what they're supposed to do. Not to saying that's a lame thing. I'm just saying that's just how folks would label them these days. Or goofy, whatever you would call them. And they out here getting money. So Dee and Wah think they getting real money doing this street stuff, doing the drug peddling or whatever. But they look over the corner and they see Heavy D and Puffy, and these cats is driving Bentleys and Benzes, and all they doing is rapping. Now Dee and Wah got they start helping out Kool Herc, carry his crates of records so they can have those battles that they used to have in the Bronx or whatnot. So they had an ear for hip hop and stuff like that, and they just seen all the money and they was like, man, we risking our life or whatnot out here in these streets. And these cats is getting real paper. Like, we get money, but these cats is getting paper. You know what I'm saying? So something ain't adding up here. I done got shot, man. We need to make a change. So they approach Heavy D and they approach Puff Daddy because their father had a friendship with Puff Daddy's father. And Heavy D lets them know off the rip, like, hey, man, if you guys have an artist that's hot, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Bring them to me. And then we'll bring them to the label, whatnot. And one of their homeboys, man, was like, yo, there's a dude in Yonkers that is tearing it up, man. Because at this point, they had moved their whole operation from the Bronx to Mount Vernon. But they still had a lot of street connections, it seemed like, in Yonkers, man. So, they spread apart, man, which is interesting. So that lets you know that they operation, whatever, man. And I ain't on here trying to, be an online investigator, but it lets you know that they was running deep, man. It was running deep for anybody who knows what's up. And, man, you see that those connections ended up getting them paired up with DMX. So DMX was a cat. He was in the street in Yonkers, and he was a wild dude, man. The story seemed like he was robbing cats with a dog, man. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, a dude showed up with a gun and a pit bull was like, yo, give me your wallet. You gonna give me your wallet, man. It's just that's all it's gonna be. He gonna get that wallet that day. But D and Wah, they heard his tapes. They was like, yo, this dude DMX, he is nice. So man, let's go sign him, man. Let's manage him. But dude was signed to a production deal on janky promoters or whatever, man, you want to call it. It seems like that is always the situation, man. Cats get in there early and sign these artists to these production deals, and it always has been a stepping stone in hip-hop. Sometimes the label buys them out. Sometimes they get a little small imprint deal. It's just been handled differently. But D and Wah said, man, we about to pull up to dude's house, and we going to put it on the contract on the table and give him and put some muscle on him, and he ain't going to have no choice. So they worked out the business. They got DMX signed under a management deal, got him a deal with Ruff House, dropped a single that flopped, and this is 1992. Now, for anybody who knows what's up, DMX didn't blow up till 1998. You know what I mean? That's when he was like the dude. You know what I'm saying? 1998. So this is 1992. So think about that, man. You talking about this is pre all the gangster stuff. Now, all his, except for MWA, of course, and a couple of cats out in Cali. But during this time, hip-hop was the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? For a New York guy to be coming out and with these gritty rhymes about horror. I think the first single was called, like, Born Loser. Like, the record label was like, man, what in the world? They were probably like, yo, Born Loser, man. What in the world? Because up till then, most of the New York rappers were like Heavy D, man. Heavy D and the Boys. So Heavy D and the Boys, man, they were just jumping, dancing, And Heavy D used to move, man. I ain't gonna diss Heavy D. Heavy D helped propel hip hop to where it was commercially. He was just a big dude, loved the ladies, could move and dance, man. He was a positive dude, man. He never cussed on his raps. They talked about that. But man, that's where really hip hop New York kind of was at the time. You know, LA hip hop, you know, had taken over, you know, after NWA, and it was starting to become like Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style was just about to drop, I believe. And it was just a different game. So to show up with DMX at the time, I know it sounds like, man, they didn't sign DMX, but at the time it just would look crazy to him. Like a dude showed up, he's in raggedy clothes, he got a pit bull, he looks real gritty, he got, you know, a choker chain, you know, and just tattoo on his back, and he's like barking and stuff. It would look crazy at that time. To us now, we understand it because X blows up later and becomes the biggest artist in the world, of course, but man, it was very humble beginnings. And then from then, they had to meet with a couple of producers, man. They wanted to get X popping. They meet with some dude called Chad Elliott, man, and he's working with Jodeci. So you see, it's still kind of more of a hit, R&B type of thing. They talking to Puffy, you know, they trying to get him with cats and whatnot. And they find a young producer by the name of Irv Gotti. Now, we know Irv Gotti goes on to be the CEO of Murder Inc., Ja Rule, producing on Jay-Z, DMX's best albums. Man, he just brought basically the hip-hop game to Def Jam. Irv Gotti never gets his credit for that, man. He brought a whole sound and everything to Def Jam. Like, here it go, man. There it go right here. And then Def Jam got to eat off that. And Murder Inc. ate off that too. And they started to close this episode out by talking about DMX and all his problems. Now, DMX had a heavy drug problem, man. The dude was addicted to crack cocaine, which is kind of remarkable thinking about where his career went and how he was doing, man. And it's kind of sad too, man, because it all started when he was an understudy of another rapper. And now the other rapper did not confirm that. And they made sure to put that on the documentary that, yo, this dude never said that he got DMX high and made him, you know, addicted to crack cocaine. But whatever it is, it started at that one spot, man. And then from then on, he was an addict the rest of his life. So it's a sad story, and it's a very telling story. Like, bruh, don't be messing with that mess. You know what I'm saying? Because you mess around and be an addict for the rest of your life. And that's no joke. And it was really sad, man, to hear DMX's story, man. It was very, very, very real story. But, you know, to think of a child, man, being brought up that way and going through all that, and then addicted to crack as early as like in their teen years, and then to reach the levels that he reached is crazy. But we still in the beginning stages of that with this one. But, man, it's going to get there soon, man. So we left off where DMX, 1992, man, rejected, things like that. On the next one, we're going to talk about the next episode. So please, man, make sure you like and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time I drop one of these videos. And we out of here. Peace.